Hi everyone, this is Lada from astrolada.com, and we're coming close to the 14th of February, and today I chose for you an amazing astrologer I want to present. And one of the topics we're going to talk about will be love and synastry, compatibility. And I'm here with Olga. Hi Olga.
Hello, everybody. From Costa Rica.
From Puerto Rico. Yeah, Olga, you are originally from Ukraine, you said?
Belarus.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. And you currently live in
Costa Rica. Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because we found Olga, and she's really, really good astrologer, and I want to present her to you guys. And can you tell us how you got into astrology and what kind of astrology you use? And
Well, hello, everybody. It's a big challenge for me. I mean, first of all, I'd like to thank Lada for giving me this opportunity to be the part of her team. And I'm very excited because I was contacted just 4 days after my birthday, 4 days after my solar revolution. So solar return, I mean, right? Sorry, because my English is not my native language, so sometimes if I make mistakes, so I'm not accurate in the terminology.
oh no, your English is very good. Don't worry.
I speak, of course, my native language is Russian, and I speak fluently French, and I'm more used to speak French, but well, I will make effort to formulate my thoughts correctly in English. So I am very excited to be here because today we know that it's a full moon in Leo and eclipse in Leo, and I was born with the moon in Leo when it was full moon. So
yeah, so the sun in Aquarius, the moon in Leo, and today it's exactly like that. The moon is in Leo, the sun is in Aquarius.
so the lunar eclipse, today's lunar eclipse activates the axis of my first and seventh houses. So
Yes, public publicity.
new partnership in the large sense of this word.
Yeah.
Business and love partnership. We hope everything will be great in the future in our collaboration, and this is very symbolic for me that I'm giving this interview the day of the eclipse, right? Isn't it fantastic? So I was born in Belarus at the time when it was Soviet Union. Belarus is the republic of the former Soviet Union, and I always dreamed to be a singer because I play music and I sing, and well, I have Neptune in the ninth, 10th house, not afflicted, so I could be a musician actually. And I always dreamed to be a musician and a singer, and I have been interested in astrology since my childhood, like some people could be, because at the time of Soviet Union, the religion and esoteric science were taboo, right? So
Yeah.
that secretly. I went through five immigrations, and each time, as my friends were laughing at me, each time I was buying one-way ticket. So Belarus,
5 countries.
yeah, Belarus, France, Switzerland, Canada, Quebec, actually, and Canada, Costa Rica. This is explained by my son in the 12th house. So I always dreamed to live abroad. When I was 13, I told my mother that one day I will live in a tropical climate, and look at this.
You're in Costa Rica now.
Yes, so I always wanted to live far from the place where I was born. But the price for this to pay sometimes it's a loneliness and to being far from your parents and your family. So it's like a very double situation. But today, almost being 40, I don't complain because I live exactly in the place where I've always dreamed to live. But it's not easy to have the sun in the 12th house. So.
Yeah, but you soften it when you go and live in a foreign country. And actually, according to Vedic astrology, having the moon in the 7th house also indicates living in foreign places.
My moon is in the 6th house and Mars in the 6th house.
I mean, they look at the moon, the sign opposite the ascendant. So if you have the moon in the sign opposite of the ascendant, according to Vedic astrology, 7th house is far away. If the ascendant sign is close, the 7th sign, there is considered far away. And people that have the moon in the sign opposite the ascendant, thought to also live.
I have the position, sun.
Exactly.
So actually, the difficult life that I had, these immigrations and being far from my parents, pushed me to think about my life, why this happens to me, because I was been wondering for the past like 10, 15 years why I was brought to travel so far, to be like be apart from the isolation. I like to be alone, but at the same time, sometimes it makes me feel sad. It's very complex as a situation.
Yes, and you always be a foreign in another country. You'd always be a foreigner. No one would fully embrace.
And there's people they don't know where I am now. People that look for me, my classmates, looking for me, like, disappeared in nature. Well, I am actually in the nature, in the mountains, in the tropical climate. Well, look, if you go back to astrology, so since the age of like 22, I think I started learning tarot, and I studied in a very good school, of course, online school in Ukraine. Tarot, I use the tarot Rider White, and also French cards Lenormand. But this is not about. It's not easy. It's not enough just to study the theory. It's about to practice a lot, using simple readings. Today I use very complicated draws readings. So I use minor and major arcana, reversed, also positions not only straight, so upside down. It gives lots of nuances of sense. So I do very complicated readings. And this was my passion for many years. I was consulting from time to time. I had clients, but suddenly it was one day my mother started to study astrology, and she saw in my chart, because of course she was studying first of all the charts of her children.
Of course.
Told me that, well, I have the predispositions to be a consultant in esoteric science, to help people, because I have Venus in Aquarius in the 12th house also, and Mercury in Capricorn in the 12th house. So I have 3 planets in the 12th house. And in Aquarius, Venus and Sun. And she pushed me somehow to subscribe to courses, online courses. And I studied a lot by myself. So it's like a very, let's say in French, autodidact self. I don't know how to say in English.
Self-taught.
When you study yourself. Because for me, astrology is not a discipline that you can just learn easily and simply. It's a constitution of mind. It's a mentality. Today, I look at everything that surrounds me, that people and everyday events in my life and people's life, through the prism of astrology.
Oh, tell me about it. I do everything through astrology.
For example, when I observe people, I try to guess what is their ascendant, the rising sign. I observe them. Okay, is it a earth element, or fire, or water, or air? By observing their manners. What is their moon?
Like, for example, how would be the manners of someone with air element?
Well, by the way, I write articles regularly in 3 languages, Russian, English, and French, and I will be happy to share them with you in the future, with the time. So I wrote recently an article about the rising signs, the ascendant, the first house in different signs, the description, giving the examples of the celebrities. So if you talk about air ascendant in any of the 3, these people who would talk quickly, they laugh very loudly, they will walk, the speed of walking will be very fast. So these manners, how they are open to the communication. So this is the approach, the mask that the person wears during the first contact.
That's me and you, both Aquarius ascendant.
I didn't ask you, Tom, brother, that you also rise in Aquarius. So yeah, I'm extremely eccentric person. People sometimes may think that I'm not serious, but I'm very serious. But I like telling jokes, and Aquarius rising, it's somebody hee ha ha ha, right? But it's just the appearance. So what I call the everyday superficial consciousness. The moon is consciousness, and the sun is deep, profound consciousness, right?
And the ascendant is how you project yourself at the beginning.
During the first contact, yes. So it was in Canada around 2000, when I immigrated, 2010, 11. I found myself in a very complicated situation, personal situation, and professional also situation. So this somehow pushed me to subscribe myself to these courses, because I was feeling that it will help me to understand why I go through this experience, this difficult experience in my life. And it went very quickly because I was learning fast and understanding immediately what was all this about. I studied in an online school of a very known Russian Moscow astrologer who was the student, when he was younger, of a famous Russian astrologer Pavel Globa.
I know Pavel Globa. He does regularly predictions for the world. He predicted very serious things like the fall of the Russian, the Soviet Union, and then the collapse, the economic collapse in 2007. He predicted it, and now he predicts that 2017 or 18, the dollar is going to lose its, it's going to like depreciate a lot. So let's
follow him and all the there is a community within Russian-speaking astrologer in Ukraine and Russia. So we are all friends on Facebook. So we read each other's predictions, especially political and economic, and it's very interesting. But me, I'm interested mostly in astropsychology, karmic astrology, and predictions, personal predictions.
Personal.
This Andrei will not tell you the name because of the publicity. But he was the student of Pavel Globa, and he was saying, I remember, when he was taking his courses, he was taking metro and the bus because there were no internet. He had to travel the other side of the city in Moscow to take the courses, to assist to the lessons. But today we do everything online.
Yeah.
And so in a couple of months, I finished his school because he has like four levels. And it went very fast. I had a lot of free time at that moment, and I learned myself a lot. And I still, on a regular basis, I buy sometimes courses, specific courses of other astrologers, like, for example, predictive techniques or karmic astrology. We improve constantly, right? We always have.
Oh, I'm taking classes always as well. After 12 years, no, 14 years now.
So today, this is what I do for the past 3 years. So I don't have another job. So I have my database of clients. I work with different people from different countries. But the beginning was difficult because you have to create your reputation, because the theoretical knowledge is not enough. You have to show that there are a lot of parameters that have to be taken into the consideration. Your background, cultural, background, knowledge of psychology, basic knowledge of psychology, and being capable to communicate with people, to listen to them, not to just to show them what you know, but listen to their needs and to give them the responses to help them. It's a very complex system of parameters that has to be respected, right? In order to be a consultant, a professional astrologer.
Yeah, it's not just knowing the practice and theory, it's being emotionally intelligent and the culture.
When I was in Montreal, I started with Groupon, these companies, Groupon and Living Social, that distribute promotional vouchers.
Yeah.
So I was working, consulting many people, 5 people per day for very symbolic price. So acquiring some first experience.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I'm blessed to live in this country because I work by Skype, and it allows me to stay in communication with the entire world.
Mm-hmm. And you know English and French and Russian, so you have a very diverse clientele.
Je parle français couramment for those who consult me in French, and of course, мой родной язык это русский, я говорю по-русски. So in 3 languages.
Can you tell us what kind of techniques you use?
But do you mean predictions, or in general, what kind of type of services do I offer?
In general, what kind of astrologically, what kind of techniques you use? And
well,
like the primary directions and
you talk about predictions. In predictions, there are, the Russian school is very strong in predictive techniques. So first of all, for me, the number one is the primary directions. Then I use progressions, secondary and tertiary. Tertiary, you say in English, right?
Tertiary, yeah.
And transits, of course, solar revolution, solar return, and eclipses. So those 5, I think, because progressions is one type, even though secondary and tertiary. Those 5 type of techniques, it's not easy, right? To combine all of them and to,
It's a lot, yeah.
in the end, to give to the client, deliver to the client a coherent, adequate analysis with the readable text, not without using too much, actually, without using the terminology, because the client just needs to know what time of the year or during the next 5 years, let's say, he may expect this or that sphere of life being activated. For example, success in the career, or love relationship, marriage, crisis in a marriage, or birth of a child. So he just needs to know, he wants to see simple formulation to the responses to his questions. It's the most difficult thing to do, the predictions, but it's exciting because it's like, sometimes I ask myself when people ask me, so does it mean that everything is already programmed for your future?
Yeah. And you're one of the astrologers that insists on rectification. You'd not do astrological prediction without the person having done rectification. And for those of you who don't know, is rectification is knowing the exact minute of your birth, because many people would say they're born 3:30, say, but when you rectify the time based on past events, it might be 5 or 6 minutes, sometimes 10, 15 minutes different time. And you really you're very specific about having people, giving people rectifications first. Would you tell us why?
For me, this step, the very first step, is not even optional. For me, it's the most important step. Without the adjustment, if the person says, I know my time of birth because it's written on the birth certificate, without the adjustment of the confirmation, the predictions are not just possible technically. It's like to prescribe a medicine pill from a doctor without making the blood test. I always compare it, because look, I will tell you, I mean, how I see the situation. So this is what I was taught by my teachers, okay, that there are two types of times of birth, the physiological and astrological. So if we consider that the time of birth is during the normal birth process, I mean, like without complications, you know, if they come out of the head, or when you cut the cord, or you breathe, that the child cries for the first time, if we consider that this is the moment of the physiological time of birth, or physical, you know, it doesn't obligatory mean that this is the astrological time of birth.
Oh, so you mean to say that actually it might be earlier or later than the actual time?
No, I don't think it will be earlier, no, because the child is still connected to the mother, and he doesn't have his independent life.
It's usually a bit later.
Yeah, because how I formulate what is the astrological time of birth is the starting point and the first impulse of the life program that she will be brought to accomplish in her current incarnation. So it may be switched on later than the child cried for the first time.
Later than the first breath. So how long usually later is it? You know?
This is the most mysterious question in astrology, because it's easy to make predictions for the future if you have the time of birth already, let's say, rectified. There's a calculations thanks to the software that simplifies our lives today, right? But how to determine, you know, sometimes it's a question also of enlightenment, of the flash of insight, or, you know, yes, you calculate using the direction, some primary directions. You compare you trace the events of the past event that happened to the person, and you adjust with the aspects that planets form in the directions. But responding to your questions, sometimes we can see, well, there are statistics, you know, there are some general rules that the astrologers have observed during the experience, but sometimes there are incredible exceptions. Sometimes, well, it cannot go, I think, beyond like 30 minutes. I don't think so. It's also within, I mean, this is my vision, maybe within half an hour, because you know that if we make a mistake, 4 minutes, the margin of 4 minutes, a difference of 4 minutes with the real time of birth can result in a margin of error of 1 year in the prediction.
Yeah, that's why the time is so important. Yeah.
So, and another thing that, okay, so we said that there's a difference between physiological and astrological time of birth. So logically, it means that we can calculate, we can adjust, rectify the mental birth only for an adult.
Only for an adult.
Has a certain experience, a social experience, you know, some events.
Like starting a job, breaking up with someone, moving to a new country, having an accident.
Well, a teenager can have also life experience. I mean, the events in his family life, birth of a sister, or some problems at school. But it's more difficult. For a child also, it's possible to rectify the time of birth for a child, and it will be based on the dates of when he was sick or ill, you know.
Yeah, sickness for children. But it's a really good point. I've never heard that before, by the way, that there is an astrological and physiological birth. But it makes so much sense because my birth, my mom said 3:20. She calculated, she was with a watch there watching. And she stopped at the moment, like my dad or whatever. It was 3:20 when I was born. But my birth chart corresponds to 3:31. 10, 11 minutes later. The events of my life correspond to 10 minutes later. And I always thought that maybe my mom's watch was broken or something. But now that you say that there is actually an astrological time of birth when the program, the Karmic program starts, and it's usually a bit later after the birth, a few minutes, that makes a lot of sense because I always thought my mom has made a mistake with the calculation, but she said, no, I checked a few watches, it was 3:20.
But so, I mean, look, today people are interested in astrology and esoteric sciences and occult practices. So now people try to actually, when the woman gives a birth, so the father or the family, they watch, you know, they look for the moment, they wait for the moment of the birth, so they can put down immediately, not the doctors, but the family.
Yeah.
But in the past, when people were not interested, they didn't know about astrology, and it was not something that, you know, very known in the society. So people were not caring really about that. So what was the time of birth that they had that was written in the hospital by doctors? And it's in 90% of cases, it's never correct.
Oh,
even,
wow.
It doesn't even correspond to the physiological time of birth. Because doctors, okay, half an hour later, okay, let's put this one, this baby, this one, okay, let's put 10:30. You cannot.
So that's why you always, if you're gonna be working with a client, you always, for predictions, and they want specific predictions and timing, you always do a rectification first.
If you want me to analyze your birth chart, a cosmogram without the time of birth, right? Just the position of planets in signs and aspects between them, basic synastry without the time of birth, even approximative. This can work.
So for relationships, for relationships and for general analysis of the horoscope,
I can respond to the question about the evolution of a situation between two partners or the situation at your work with a tarot, but I will not provide you the delays. If the person wants the exact delays, because I can see in progressions, for example, the moon conjuncts the descendant in progressions. It means that you'll be excited about a new encounter or about the improvement of the relationship with the partner. But if you don't know the time of birth, how I can swear that this is the moment of the conjunction with the descendant? So if clients want exact delays in the predictions for any period of time, like I can offer monthly predictions, detailed monthly predictions, yearly, 5 years, 10 years. Of course, this is like the first condition to respect.
And you work with very time-sensitive techniques like solar arcs and primary directions, which give 4 minutes is 1 year, 4 minutes of wrong time birth.
For the rectification, I use the directions. The progressions they don't serve for.
Yeah,
primary directions. And I have two softwares. professional softwares of Russian. I have this in sticks, you know.
I thought you were smoking or something.
No, this is it relaxes me. Yeah. I have professional software from 2 Russian astrologers, and that I use in my work. And for the predictions, I use a software that draws graphs. This is, my clients adore this because it draws, you know, the peaks, red and green. So that red peaks means a position or square in transit or progressions in direction. So it's a visual. You can see where is the peak of the negative or positive aspect in progressions.
Yes. When we were doing a test reading, you showed me those graphs. They're beautiful and they explain so easy, guys. I mean,
I make the screenshot.
yeah, when you have a reading with Olga, she'll be doing you all those charts that show you your transits and
I present the screenshot of let's say for 1 year for the person. You can see the which month has the very important progression, for example, with the peak, you know, the peak is, and the date. I put the date and I even interpret what type of progression is it.
and what it means for you. Wonderful. Yes. And can you, because today we want to talk about relationships, can you tell us how exactly you do a relationship horoscope? When people come to you and they say, I want compatibility, am I going to be with this person? And how do you proceed exactly? So people know what to expect. And then we're going to talk, guys, about some techniques for love and relationships. Astrology tips.
So the block of love, I call it partnership relation in general sense. Love horoscope, if you want. Yeah, I would point out 4 sub-blocks, four major divisions, 4 blocks. First of all, this is, I always start with this, before to analyze a synastry, if the client is interested in an analysis of the compatibility between him and another person. Before to analyze the compatibility, I have to look at the chart of the both.
Separately.
That is the synastry to start with. And first of all, to the chart of the client who contacted me. So in the analysis of the birth chart, we can see, well, since we consider that the birth chart is the passport of the spiritual evolution of the person that she has achieved in the past incarnation, what experience she brought from the past life. That means that from the esoteric point of view, everything that happens to us in this actual incarnation is totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
So if the woman says, okay, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, but I'm unlucky in love, why? The neighbor is not smarter than me, she's not prettier than me, and she has a lot of boyfriends, and she is happy with her marriage, why?
Yeah, I know lots of such women there, and they can be amazing and everything. And
yes, and people ask me, they say that it's not fair. I said everything is fair from astrological, from esoteric point of view. So what I look at first, these are parameters, the elements of the horoscope of the birth chart that will talk about the vision of love of the person, vision of the partnership, how she learned to love, simply speaking, in the past incarnation. Is she open to give, you know, generously? And so these parameters that describe the
default settings, basically.
Say in English, yes, native, the person, the owner of the chart. What we look at first, well, for me, of course, I mean, for us, it's Venus, right? The planet Venus, its position in a sign. So the aspects of Venus with other planets, whether if it's afflicted or not. So if it doesn't have squares or oppositions, especially with malefic, right, planets. The position of Venus in house, and if the Venus is the ruler of the 7th house, so we look at the descendant, the 7th house, if Venus is the ruler, if the descendant is, for example, in Libra or Taurus, right? If Venus is a ruler of the 7th house, is afflicted or not, because it will determine the risk of unlucky, unhappy marriage, because if Venus is not afflicted as the ruler, so the person may expect a very happy marriage. But this is about the predictions later. So first I look at Venus, if it's in exaltation or rulership, it's very important. If Venus is in Taurus or Libra, right?
Yeah.
So I noticed that people are very artistic anyway, because Venus symbolizes also the vision of beauty of the world that surrounds us, vision of art, how the person is capable to appreciate, the beauty. These people with Venus, I notice in Libra, Pisces also, and Taurus, they're all artistic. Whether they like to sing or dance or paint,
Comes naturally to them, yeah.
and they like beautiful partners. So the partner has to be physically attractive.
And they attract beautiful partners.
So the position of Venus in the sign. Then, for me, more important are the aspects. This I also noticed, because if Venus is, let's say, in exaltation or rulership, if it's afflicted, it's not good.
Say Venus in Pisces, but square Saturn.
The person will always have tendency to play the role of a victim anyway, and to use the partner, and will have a lot of obstacles because of the Saturn.
And those difficult aspects and positions of Venus, do you think they mean that the person will always have bad luck in relationships, or can it improve with age?
Okay, let's say like this. First of all, we have to trace the transits. If Venus has the square to Saturn, we have to trace the transits of Saturn, or also Venus when it conjuncts Venus or Saturn, because it will activate this square.
The same planets transiting to their positions activated.
The both, because if it's too long, like Pluto, we will not have enough time to wait for the transit of Pluto. So if Venus has square to Pluto, of course, we have to trace the transits of Venus.
Yeah.
Because it's fast. So the moment of the conjunction of the transit of Venus with a native Venus, it activates, the square is activated. So at this, because it's fast, like 2-3 days, depends, right? The person can live a very sad experience, traumatic experience in her relationship. So we have to trace the transit, and transits are cyclic, right? So they take place during all our life. Here, the goal is, to trace them and to understand, to make the right conclusions from the experiences that is offered to us. It means that the person has to work on herself, not to blame the partner, or you turned your back to me. The person has to think, what I do, what should I improve in my attitude to the partner? So during the next transit and the next activation of this square, the situation will be softened.
Yeah, because if every time in cycles a similar situation repeats, obviously it's not coming from the other person or the other partner, it's coming from you if it's always repeating the same way. So you have to look at your own behavior.
Both directions, but the goal of esoteric astrology and to make the person work on herself, because all these experiences are school of life, so it forces us to become better. If the person deserved in the past life to have this square, she brought this aspect to this incarnation, so it means that she has to work on it, not the partner. It's her
and can it be worked on? Have you noticed people with difficult aspects to Venus who at a certain age in life are able to actually have much better experiences and react better?
Unfortunately, most of people, I also want to believe I always want to believe in the humanity and we become better. It's very difficult to work on yourself, even if you're conscious about your negative aspects. Even for me, I'm so aware of my birth chart or my negative aspects, and when the transit comes up,
you react the same way.
Like, okay, Olga, you have to do it. You don't have another choice. Another way. In the next incarnation, you will be born with the same aspect.
Oh, wow, but we come here to progress. I do believe we can change. Each next Saturn transits gets a little bit easier for me. I still get sad and down, but I don't want to kill myself like earlier ones,
Maybe because an astrologer, because most of people, they want to receive a confirmation from you. When will the partner become better? Because I don't deserve this. I don't deserve. No, he has to change his attitude towards me. So it's not easy. So to explain. Well, so I was saying that we have to check whether the Venus is afflicted or not by squares and the positions, but the position of Venus in a sign describes the vision of the partnership of this person. For example, I will give an example. Venus in Aquarius, which is my case, I always attracted by unusual, eccentric partners with men younger, because it's Aquarius, like something unusual that doesn't correspond to the vision, for example, of the partnership of my mother, because she said, oh no, this person has nothing to give you socially speaking, no, like no sense. But I said, yeah, but I'm a genuine in my choice of criteria. I like this person, so I go ahead. So why should I think about what the person will bring me, you know, in the...
Yeah, Aquarius is not about material.
Not about convention, you know, like label convention.
The label status, yeah.
So what the vision of the partnership, type of the relationship, so freedom, something irregular, eccentricity, is described by the position of Venus in a sign. Well, plus you have to interpret the aspects. If you have, for example, a position to Pluto, you will have a lot of fantasies, even sexual fantasies, not sometimes sane, I would say.
Dark sexual fantasies.
But another thing is the descendant. And if the descendant is in another, let's say, for example, Leo,
yeah,
it means that you will be, well, there's a signs that are similar. The air and fire, they are compatible, right? Especially Venus and Leo, the opposite, they always attract each other. But I mean, the descendant will show you what type of partner the life will give you. What they're looking for is Venus in a sign. What life will give you in terms of circumstances and delays, because it will trace the aspects in the directions, when the life will give you this type of partner, like Leo.
So if you have a bad Venus, you might have problems in relationship, but if you have a good 7th house and more, you end up with a good partner anyway.
What I've been taught is that the position of Venus in a sign, it's psychological layer, and the descendant, and it's in the cusp in the sign, and the ruler in which house is the event level of the events, what the
actual thing, the actual partner and the level, yeah.
Yes. So we have.
So what is it better, to have a good Venus or to have a good 7th house?
Yeah, it's a question. Because you see, I see the following way. For example, if you have a afflicted Venus, you will be in the everyday life, in the exchanges with the partner, you will be not easy, you know, not easygoing person. But life will give you a long-lasting marriage with a partner who will be faithful. You see what I mean?
With a good 7th house.
Yeah. But inside of this construction, I mean, your own behavior will be sometimes too eccentric or not harmonious.
Yeah. But okay. Very well put. Very, very good. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
How I see things from my experience, also consulting people, because you know, the most precious is the experience with the real clients, real stories.
Yeah. I've noticed that, like, people with many difficult aspects to Venus, they'll be kind of ball-busters in relationships or have difficult relationships, but they can have an amazing partners if their 7th house is good.
And vice versa, if you have a strong Venus, not afflicted, you'll be so generous in everyday life. You will do everything for your partner, and you will, for example, you won't play the role of victim, and you will be, as I call it, coherent in your reactions. Adequate.
You'll be what?
Coherent, like harmonious. I call it harmonious manifestations, without this, you know, scenes, without this everyday conflicts, without reasons. No, you will behave like a normal person.
Yeah.
But you will not meet the partner if the descendant is not, if the rule of the descendant is not afflicted, is afflicted.
Yeah, if the 7th house.
And if you have Saturn in the 7th house afflicted also.
It might be delayed for very late in life, or yeah.
That is my case. The Saturn in the 7th house. Yeah, but not afflicted. It has a sextile with the Jupiter in the fifth. So.
Oh, your partner is still coming.
It's coming up.
It's coming, yeah.
So this, I look at these parameters. So Venus is mentioned in descendant of the both people. Ideally, I would need to know at least the approximative time of the birth of the son of the partner of the other person, if he knows it, because otherwise I want to make the rectification for the other person if she's not, she doesn't know that the woman, the most often the woman contacted me for this service. And now about the compatibility. Yeah, so I have my the way of, how I see the things, and there are some general rules, of course, but I will tell you how I proceed in this case. Me, I always calculate, regardless the service that the client contacts me for, I always calculate through this table that I showed you in Excel the highlighted and the synthetic sign.
The synthetic sign. Yeah, we've talked with Marina about that. This is something the Russian school talks about.
Yeah, this is something that I adore because sometimes people say, okay, but I'm Leo, solar Leo, but I don't feel, I'm so shy. I don't feel myself Leo because maybe he has Moon in Cancer, Mars in Scorpio, I don't know, Venus in Taurus. So the water and earth elements will dominate the whole chart.
Mm-hmm.
And only the solar sign will be the fire in Leo.
Yeah.
So I like images. I like to compare, the.
And you gave me a great chart. You were doing a reading for my partner, and you said, because he's like Taurus and Cancer, but he doesn't behave so much like those signs. And you said, but he's a Leo. His synthetic sign overall is Leo. I don't know if you remember when you were giving the test.
Or Aries, I don't remember. But
yeah, and he's like much more positive, more of those behaviors. Yeah. And you give a chart basically where it shows you which your dominant sign is.
It's the percentage of each sign. I compare this type of analysis to a cake. You see a cake on the counter. Okay, you want to buy a cake. The name of the cake is written chocolate cake. This is the solar sign. So what it's supposed to taste when you buy it and you eat it. But you look at it, it looks like vanilla. It looks yellow. It's white yellow. How come chocolate? If it looks vanilla, white vanilla.
Yeah. Vanilla.
This is the rising sign. With how it looks like. And then you have the layers of inside. And each layer can taste differently, and you have 12 possibilities, 12 signs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 2 layers of the same taste, so 2 planets in the same sign, which is different from the solar and the rising, you will feel this taste. Okay, Moon and Scorpio, the Moon is very important. For me, it's more important than the Sun. I always wanted people to behave upon the Moon and Sun, especially until the age of 35. Past life experience.
And after that, they start acting more like their Sun sign, yeah?
Sun sign is after 40.
After 40.
It's what I noticed. For 35, 40, depends on the level of, once again, consciousness and the.
Honestly, I never felt my Aries until recently. I was much more my ascendant and my moon maybe, but people would never say I'm Aries. And now I'm starting to feel this Aries.
Because the solar sign describes the traits of character that the person has to develop consciously in this incarnation to become the solar sign. But the past life experience is dominating the past life experience, the moon.
The moon.
Yeah. So if you have Moon and Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio, it will be you will taste this. You will notice this taste in the cake when you eat it. So sometimes people have 50% of, let's say, Scorpio, even though their solar is Leo. So that's why they don't feel Leo, because. So I calculate the synthetic sign thanks to a table that I have, and the first step of the analysis of the compatibility for me is to see what elements are dominating the chart of each person. If one has more earth and water, and the other one air and fire, difficult. It will be difficult because they're different. Too different. And before to analyze the solar and Venuses and stuff, just to start with the synthetic signs. But this is something very general, but very useful anyway. The next, what I do. Yeah, I will see. Yeah, where is the description? Okay, the couple semester. There are several blocks.
Yeah.
After analysis of each partner's chart, we focus on astropsychology. So, the mutual expectation of the partners towards the partnership in general. So what type of partner the person likes. With Venus in Pisces, the person will like soft partners, romantic and sacrificing. It's extreme. Then the aspects between the planets, so synastry in itself, the conjunction of planets, of the both partners, you know, and the karmic side. So 3 blocks. But when we talk about mutual expectations, what we should look at in a man's chart, we have to look at the moon and Venus, and in the woman's chart at the sun and Venus and Mars. Sorry, Venus and Mars.
In the woman's chart.
Yeah, because in a man's chart, the moon corresponds to the archetype of a mother, of the mother. So it will describe the ideal image of the woman that he likes to deal with whom he deals easily.
Even if the moon is bad and difficult in the horoscope, and the mom was quite.
For example, moon in Capricorn, as I noticed, moon in Capricorn, afflicted or not, doesn't matter. This one will never like eccentric women and very sensitive and very open. He will like women who controls the situation, like a Capricorn. And it's not about the vision, only about vision of love. He will like, for example, it's the vision of ideal woman as a neighbor, as a sister, as a co-worker. So in general term, not like a lover, not only a lover. So we don't like men with women with the moon in Capricorn, because I have nothing in Capricorn. So like they're too close. They're too. And if I start like, oh, you know, like, oh, you get my nerves.
Off.
Yeah,
you get excited with your big Leo and Aquarius.
Yeah, that's why I like Leos, because they fall to my 7th house and.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, all my partners and husbands have had a big Leo, because Leo is in my 7th house.
I forgot to mention. I want to mention this, just a small like parenthesis, right? You know, if we determine the synthetic sign and we trace the cycles, because like sometimes you can have 2 synthetic signs dominate.
That's equally strong.
Sorry?
You can have 2 synthetic signs that are equally strong.
The same percentage, approximately.
Yeah.
As me, I have synthetic Leo and Aquarius.
Sure.
If we trace the cycles, not the transit, the cycles of the rulers of the synthetic signs, this is actually the first predictive technique. So this is the pulse of your destiny.
What are those cycles? You mean transits, or?
I don't know how to explain it now in English. It's not about that, because transits we mean the aspects of transit, the planet that transit towards our native. Yes, it's something different. With Alma, maybe I will talk about it another time. But the synthetic sign is extremely important for everything for me.
Yeah.
Also, for if we determine it, we can check we can trace the ruler of the synthetic sign and its cycles.
And the cycles is something. But
like the cycle of the sun, it's 365 days.
Okay, and if your synthetic sign is, say, Capricorn, it will be the cycle of Saturn, 29 years.
But you have, if the planet is too slow, if you talk about Pluto, Uranus, there are like 2 types of cycles, minor and major, so faster and lower. But this also from Russian school. One day we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think people would like to. First, how to find our synthetic sign and how to trace those cycles.
Because they will define the pulse of your destiny.
Oh, wonderful!
Then you add the directions, then you add progressions and blah blah blah, and you have the whole total picture, and like.
Wow, such interesting methods. The Russian school is so different than anything I've studied.
So, in the men's chart, we look at the moon. And Venus, because it will show the vision of a partnership in a general sense of word, right? What type of women? For example, the compatibility with the woman. If the man has the Venus in fire sign, any fire sign, and the woman has Venus in a fire sign also, or air, so air, fire, compatible.
Yeah,
of course, this is logical. Venus is in Aries and Leo, compatible. But better is to have aspect between them. Because you can have one Venus in the beginning of the sign, right, 1st degree, and the other will have in the end of another fire sign, so they will not create triangle. You agree?
The trine aspect, yeah.
Trine, yeah. So it's better. It's sometimes the Venuses are in different signs, like air and the border sign that is next, and that they create trine because of the degrees that they position at.
Yeah.
So aspects are more important than even the signs. If you have conjunctions and trines and more very powerful. So aspects, the position of Venus is in signs and aspects between them. If it's trine, it's good. And
you know, I've noticed that even if the rest, like the sun is not harmonious with your partner, sometimes even the moon is not harmonious with your partner. If your Venus is a harmonious, it creates so much love.
By the way, I don't pay attention in the beginning, at least, at the solar sign, because
yeah,
for me, if you have Venus in Aries and the husband is solar Aries, this is good, but it's not. But this is not the obligatory condition. So the compatibility between Venuses, their position in signs, and the same elements, and it's better even to have aspect between them, like triangles.
My biggest loves, where I felt most loved and appreciated, was when I had a trine or between Venuses, good aspects between Venuses, even if the rest of the compatibility was difficult, like moons not going well, suns. But Venus compensates a lot for the.
Also, another thing, if you have a square or position, it will mean that between the Venuses, right? It will mean that the mode of interaction, the context will be negative. I mean, conflicts, confrontations, and quarrels, but there will be interaction.
Okay.
If Venuses don't have aspects at all, like nothing is, you know.
Say Venus in Leo and Venus in Capricorn.
Well, it depends on the degree, because
if there's, like, I'm giving example for people, like when there is no connection as an aspect there, basically.
Very difficult. Not the same vision at all. Because
love, how to express love, and
So Venus is right. Then in a woman's chart, we check Mars, because the Mars is the image of the ideal lover, of a masculine energy that the woman looks for. Type of the masculine energy, of the initiative, personal initiative. So if Venus is sometimes in conjunction with man's Mars is in conjunction with the woman's Venus, it's excellent, because it's very good for sexual compatibility. So Venus and Mars in the same signs or the same elements.
Wonderful. Yeah. And what if it's the woman's Mars that is in the same element as the man's Venus? Feel good.
Yes, what I said, it was what I said, yeah.
Okay.
No, it was the contrary, I don't remember.
Yeah, because it's the woman's masculine planet Mars, they in trine or in the same element as the man's Venus. It's still good.
But in any way, as long as you have aspects between planets, like conjunctions, trines, is more powerful than sextile, it's good. If you don't have aspects between planets, like there is nothing that make you touch each other, you know? Aspects are more important than the position of planets in signs for me.
By the way, we was looking at the chart, Melania Trump and Donald Trump, and they didn't have, like, their Venuses, their moons, almost nothing was, they had no conjunctions.
So maybe in this case, but this is our psychoanalysis, we have to see the position, if you take the chart of the man's chart, in what houses of the woman's chart he projects his planet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's overlay of the houses. Yeah.
Over the houses, and in this case, we talk about not just romantic interaction, you know, love, to be lovers or friends, with the movie. But I mean, if we talk about marriage, possibility of a marriage, like official engagement, commitment. So of course there are specific requirements if the sun of one partner is in the 7th house of the other partner. This is the typical, you know.
You see many people getting married in a marriage when one sun is the opposite in the 7th house of the partner, yeah.
Or Venus, but the sun is better, yeah.
So that's one of the good ones to have.
Do you have this?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw that, yeah.
My partner is Libra ascendant, and I have 4 planets in Aries with the sun. So
especially when it's close to the cusp.
Yeah, they're all close to the cusp.
So in a woman's chart, Mars and Venus, men's chart, Moon and Venus, in which elements and signs of each element the planets are, aspects between them. So does the vision of the partner, of the does the woman's vision of the partner correspond to what the other partner can give her? So if both of them, even between Marses, if both of them have Marses in water signs like Pisces and Cancer, of course they will have the same level of personal initiative. So they'll be slow, inert, little bit, but it will not contradict. So compatibility.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is the level of conflict. So this was astropsychology, the expectations, mutual expectations, and how the other partner satisfies these expectations. The second block is the level of conflictual intensity. Yes, the level of conflict. Do you see what I mean or not?
Oh yeah.
So we have to see if malefic planets as Mars, Uranus, Pluto, and Saturn, and also Jupiter in this case, form aspects with the same planets of the other person. If they create conjunctions, especially, it means if you have more than 3, it means that the level of conflict will be very high. So logical conclusion from here is that if people are born the same year or within the 2 years, like somebody's younger or older than the other, 2 years different, these slow planets like Pluto and even Uranus will stay in the same sign almost in the same degree, because within 2 years they move very they don't move very far.
Yeah.
So that's why it explains why people who date or who get married, people who are born the same year or within 2 years, they quarrel a lot.
They quarrel
because they create conjunctions, these planets, or squares.
Yeah.
But if you have the difference of in 7 years plus minus 2 years, these planets may create triangles, or even they don't create aspects at all, and this is good for the very low level of conflictuality.
So it's best to have marriages
7 years difference.
5, 6, and onward.
5, 9, yeah, and it doesn't matter who is younger, by the way, because it's not about. It's better when it's younger. So this level of conflictuality. If you have more than 3, sometimes I saw like 5 or 6, like 6 rare, but 5 people like they say, yeah, we love each other, the Venuses are compatible, blah blah blah, but conflictual level very high.
But what if the other planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, have good aspects between each other?
No, it's you can always find interpretation of, for example, a trine of Uranus to Venus. It adds some, like a slight taste to this general picture. But we talk about strategic parameters, strategic moments, because if you have a high level of conflictuality, 3 conjunctions of malefic planets, the triangle of Venus and Uranus will not save. You will continue to quarrel.
It's true. I've had a partner my age, and we argued a lot for no reason, without actually things that would never annoy me would annoy me with him. It's
when the transit strikes.
Yeah, because all the Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune.
You threw the plate, like in Russia. We threw the plate.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
And the third block is karmic.
Tell us about karmic. People love hearing that.
Well, I don't know if I will make you discover something new, because all of you guys here are so. Those who watch the videos and follow you, they look to be very professional and you know a lot. So look, how I define the karmic side of the relationship. How I determine if a relationship contains a karmic aspect, or aspects in plural. We have to start with the fact that there are 2 types of karmic relationship. 2 types. In the first case, between 2 people that meet in the actual incarnation, there can be real bonds or ties with the same person in the past incarnation or incarnations. So they know each other from the past life. Okay? So the first sign of such narration is an instant recognition of the person. Like the people say, oh my God, I met him, but it looks like I just recognized him. I always knew him. And in this situation, the karmic program is launched, what we say, and it's often accompanied by the emergence of unfounded fears or unjustified trust. We cannot explain explain why I feel I scared of him or I'm attracted. I cannot explain with my mind. You know, I cannot convince myself in something different or opposite. I'm just attracted to this person.
There's no logic, yeah.
And most often in such a relationship, we can see the continuation of close family ties from the past lives, or parental debt, or some karmic debts in love, in marriage, if those two people were in a couple in the past life. So
basically having to pay off a karmic debt to each other.
Otherwise, how to explain why they meet again? Something was not paid, you know, the karmic debt, yes.
Yeah.
They have to finish something they did not finish. And I will tell you now how we can see this in the synastry that people met in the past life. So, and second option is that there were no, for example, contact in the past incarnation between two people, but the relationship in the actual incarnation affects our subconsciousness, dreams, expectations, hidden complexes, and contributing, and this contributes to intense spiritual growth. In simple words, the two people need each other to move forward, to accomplish their personal karmic programs.
Mm-hmm.
So they need,
even if they never met, they have something in their.
I compare with the image. Like you drive on a highway, and you know where you go because there are like indications in. Okay, you say, yeah, I know I took the right line, but there is somebody. Well, you meet somebody, auto stop. Like how do they call it on the highway? But somebody waits for you to pick him up.
Yeah.
And if you don't take this person to your car, you will not arrive to the final destination. You have to pick up this person. Otherwise, you will turn, spin around on the highway, as if this person could help you to arrive to your final destination. I mean, we talk about your karmic program.
Yeah.
So how we can see this in the charts? So if you talk about the first option, when people met in the past life, you can see this, of course, in the conjunctions of the personal planets with the southern lunar node.
Oh yeah.
And my personal stories with this stuff. I mean, each time I was saying that I don't want to go through this, and you have to go through this, and you're not yourself. Or it can be the conjunction of a personal planet with it's a worse black moon Lilith.
It's the worst, you said.
It's worse than the node. Because Lilith means that you perceive the reality and the other person through a magnifying glass, through a prism that deforms the objective, the objectivity, the person how she is in the reality. You don't see her in a realistic light,
Uh-huh. Do you see darker?
It's always an obsession. It's always an obsession and unexpected. Yes, you can idealize her also. It doesn't mean that you see her as the enemy, but there's nothing good about the obsession, because you say I cannot live without this person, but finally she can what she can do to you. It's only to harm you in the end, because you will suffer when you break up.
Is there like an orb of say few degrees that you have to look at for Lilith and conjunction?
That if we talk about real planets, if you talk the conjunction between real planets, if the planet is slow, we can consider, because some soldiers in Russia, they consider up to 8 degrees, or like Saturn with the sun, 8 degrees. It's too long. I mean, too big for me. I stay within 6, because more sky. If we consider conjunction with the moon and Venus, well, it should be smaller, like 3 or 4, for the compatibility or for the transits, doesn't matter. But if you talk about fictitious points,
like Lilith, 2 degrees.
I don't go beyond the 3, because
if I have my Lilith in Scorpio at 20 degrees and someone has Sun at 25 degrees, Scorpio, too big. Okay.
I will not exclude. I mean, I will comment on it if I explain to the client. But the more it's tight, if it's like half a degree, sometimes 0.0, but up within 1, it's very powerful. You feel the impact, and yeah.
What about the Rahu, the south and north node, which one is more difficult to have in a conjunction with someone's planet?
I mean, the south and the north?
Yeah.
Well, in the case of conjunction of personal planet, I mean, between the Sun and Mars, because, you know, the whole generation can have conjunction of a Pluto with somebody else.
No, I mean like south node conjunction of Venus.
But the north node, this corresponds to the second option of the karmic ties, when you didn't meet in the past life, but you meet this person in this incarnation.
Okay. So only the south node is when you've met.
Of course.
Yes. Now I was wondering about that because in our astrology that I also study, south node is the past life, and you say that Lilith is also past lives.
I think that you have to analyze if you talk about it, because there is no like south and north Lilith, right? There's only one Lilith. So if, for example, because I had a case, and you have the planet, because the person had the node and the Lilith very close in his own chart, and the other partner had the planet between these two. So she had there was a conjunction, this horrible conjunction of Lilith, node, and the planet. Mm-hmm. So in this case, definitely from the past life, maybe some black magic was made, you know.
Wow, yeah.
Lilith is also always about
the darker side.
Yeah, darker side and the violation of another person's free will, you know. Like
violation of free will. It's like a spell, like the book. Yeah.
So planet and this personal planet and
the south node Lilith and a personal planet of another. This is like some kind of violation of the will of past lifetimes.
If it's a bit the Lilith, but if it's just the node, the south node means that, for example, you have the node of and the Venus. You were lovers in the past life. This is for sure.
South node.
With the Mars, you were enemies. You met, and, you know, maybe you were soldiers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Enemies. If it's the moon, the owner of the I always mix them. The owner of the I'm not sure of the moon was the mother. His mother.
A parent, yeah, mother.
The son, then also the father. It was a father and child relationship.
With the sun and with Jupiter. Jupiter south node.
Yeah, it's a social planet, you know. It's not a personal planet. The description will be more abstract.
Yeah.
Maybe you were
like some people say, what about if I have Pluto with the south node of the other part? No.
It's not concrete as a description. I don't focus on it, honestly. I have a bit
generational, isn't it?
Yeah. It's most important is to see if there is a conjunction with the sun, the moon, Mars and Venus, Mercury.
Maybe they were friends or siblings.
Yeah, maybe they wrote a book together.
You know, it's very interesting because with my previous relationship, I had my Venus on my partner's south node, and during a regression, and psychics told me as well. We saw that we were together in the past lifetimes. We were about to get married, but my family lost money, and he left me. So it was a relationship that was not completed, basically. But we were about to get married, so it's kind of south node past life connection.
Because you have some depth to give back to the other person.
Yeah.
But how I see this situation is that even if you're supposed to spend some time together, it can be one night or it can be 10 years of marriage. This relationship will not have this long-term perspective anyway.
Because
it's about the depth.
Because you're finishing something, you're ending something.
But because the owner of the node pulls you back.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, no. The owner of the planet pulls you back because this is your old program, the program of your past life, your south node. So you have to push it away. You have to go to the direction of the north node. So the owner of the planet that conjuncts your south node doesn't allow you to move forward. We are here just to give back the depth and then to move
away. Yeah, that's what, like in the horoscope of Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, they had like south node connections with personal planets, and they were together. They gave something to each other, but even when I saw it a few years ago, I said this will sooner or later fizzle out because the paying a debt to each other, and they'll move on after that.
But the attraction is just insane. The attraction is so powerful in this case.
The South Node. Yeah.
Because the day you see the person, because I know from my own experience, my personal stories, it's like, and especially me, I have this, increased sensibility, right? Sensitivity to the energies. So like the first time I see the person, I knew that, yeah, there will be something between me and him. It's also astropsychology, it's karmic,
Yeah, it's picking up where you left years and years, reincarnations ago.
Very heavy can be. I had in my personal story when I was younger, I had a very complicated combination with the most important partner in my life so far. Even if we were not married officially, but from all the parameters, we were supposed to be a husband and a wife. We have both planets on the nodes, his planets on my nodes, but they both know south and north, and also in his chart the same. You imagine?
So you have something to complete from the past, but also
we will meet for sure in the future. Yes.
But you also need each other for the future, which is the North Node.
It's very heavy. It's very heavy. Because I was feeling like we were slaves of each other. It was very negative, very dramatic, but not capable to get rid of each other until the moment when it was supposed to be finished. Because of we can trace it in the directions and progression, especially the transit of the nodes, because the transit of the nodes will activate those conjunctions of the planets in the nodes.
Absolutely. And if you have only North Node connections with the personal planet of another.
Yeah, this is the example of Rihanna and Chris Brown, by the way.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they have, I don't remember which one. I think she has her node in Pisces and his sun is in Pisces. So look how many times they were in the court trying to break up, and they told him, don't get closer to her, right?
Yeah.
You cannot get close to her. But they still were seeing each other secretly.
They fascinated with each other, basically, the North Node.
The projection for the future. Because each person needs the other to move forward. There's no depth from the past, but the one needs the other for.
But they can stay in long relationships, can't they?
Yeah. Yes. Basically, this is an interpretation of this aspect. But once again, we have to consider other parameters. The positions of the planets. But this is why I find this block of karmic aspects in a synastry interesting is because sometimes you can see charts with no karmic aspects. I mean, the two charts in the synastry without karmic aspects, but the perfect combination of compatibility between Venuses and other elements, like astropsychologically speaking. And people say, yes, everything is okay, but it's too soft, nice.
There is intensity, yeah.
And sometimes there is no compatibility between Venuses and other elements that we mentioned just before, but the people have very powerful aspect, several indications in karmic compatibility, and they stay together and torture each other, and it's a lot of
yeah.
But it's very.
And what about Pluto, Uranus, Neptune aspects with personal planets? Are they karmic? According to
karmic, we can talk about karmic aspects only if we touch the fictitious points. The black moon, Selena, the white moon, also very popular in Russian.
Oh, I've never heard of that even, Selena.
Yeah, but this is the opposite of Lilith.
Wow, is that the black moon is the point where the moon is furthest away from the Earth, or what is it?
Yes. But this is because in American tradition they most often use truth Lilith. And that's why when they ask me, but your position in your table, the position of Lilith and signs is not correct, because they use what they call true Lilith and mean, MEIAN, mean Lilith. There are two different moons, two different approaches of calculation. But what you just mentioned, you are right. It's like there's apogee, perigee. I don't know in English.
Apogee and perigee.
Yeah. Exactly. So the black moon in Russian astrological traditions, what was developed by the Globa.
Oh, really?
He was the author of the book, The Interpretation of Lilith in Science, that I use in my interpretations. So the black moon Lilith, this is the farthest point in the orbit of the moon around the sun, the Earth, I mean.
Yeah, and white white
Lilith,
Selena moon is the closest point of the moon to Earth,
huh?
and the Selena or white moon the
Mhm.
closest.
If you have a Selena in the sign and the house, it will show. Well, you have somewhere. I mean, not if the position of the Selena in the sign and the house will. It's like good karma, let's say. In which field of life you did good acts. You know, you acted in the past life honestly, and where you were helping others, and good karma. So in this incarnation, you will have help in this field of life. Whereas in the, if you analyze the position of Lilith in a sign in a house, you'll describe in which field of life you will have a temptation and what kind of temptation.
Mm.
Just a simple example, because it's not the topic today about Lilith, but Lilith in Scorpio, you attract mentally ill people, like sexual manipulation, psychological manipulation from others, but also tempted to behave this way, to manipulate others, to even do black magic, to manipulation, the keyword of Scorpio, right? And
Yeah.
occult science is black magic, so in Lilith and Scorpio. But if it's in the seventh house, it means that you can live this experience from your partner, especially. If it's the 10th house, so manipulation from your superior, from your boss.
Oh my God, I have Lilith in Scorpio in the 10th house, and
10?
I used to work for bosses. They'll try and have sexual relationships with me, and I'll have to leave the job after that always. So it's like every time.
I know a person, I know somebody, not a client, just personal, from my friends. Lilith in Scorpio in 7th house, there was black magic done on him from a woman. You know, how to say it is when you make somebody love you, like.
Oh yeah, we do this in Bulgaria. You can go to a special person and they can do black magic.
Scorpio, Lilith and Scorpio, black magic, 7th house from a love partner. So.
Wow. So
So
they
this
really have that done.
of Lilith. So Selena also you can consider the conjunctions of the planets of one partner with Selena, but this is for me minor.
Is Selena always opposite the Lilith, the black moon?
This is a good question. No, I don't think so because they don't have the same cycles. No.
Okay, so they're not like south and north, no.
No, because I had Lilith in Cancer, so always like far from my land, my native country.
Uh-huh.
Lilith in Cancer, so because it's symbol of roots, rights, history, parents, ancestors. Okay, so I'm far from my ancestors.
Well, maybe it's good that you're far away from them because they
No,
will
I'm very happy, under the palm
come
tree.
close to you.
And the Selena I have in Libra. It means that I was a honest judge in the past.
Uh-huh.
So now I apply to authorities, for example, to the court for something, to defend my position with a lawyer. I will have the success in the case will result in my favor. So I will
Wow.
court in this field, the field of Libra, justice and yeah.
Do you know where we can find out the positions of our Black Moon, Lilith, and Selena?
Once again, if you talk about American Western tradition, they consider mean black moon. It's not the same as the truth.
Isn't it just maybe 1 or 2 degrees different only, or no?
Sometimes it changes the sign. So, for example, as the software that I use, Z-A-T, Z of Anatoly Zaitsev, he has this list of fictitious points in asteroids and all the elements of astrological elements. You can see, and the both types of the moons and the both types of the Selenas also, because there are two Selenas. So it's about the software. But people sometimes write to me, they ask me, why you say that from this date of birth I have Selena in Sagittarius if I have it in Scorpio? Yeah, because he doesn't look at the same Selena, I mean, black moon. Because
Yeah,
me,
it has to be the true one.
I always confuse.
But if it's somewhere in the middle of the sign, it's not gonna be a problem, though.
But you take the risk because you have to be sure what Lilith you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So in my software, I look only because it brings confusion. It's like too many different types of moons. So I focus on black moon that uses Globa, the Russian astrology. So the apogee
Apogee and perigee, the furthest and the closest point of the moon to Earth.
So for the karmic parameters in the synastry, so the conjunction of the personal planets from Sun to Mars with the nodes and Lilith, and also with the cusps of the cross. I mean the cross, the cardinal points with ascendant, descendant, with heaven, and the fourth house. Yeah, if there is a exact conjunction, if the nodes are on the cusps with cardinal points, is also very important.
Wow, thank you. Such amazing information you're giving us, Olga. I'm sure people are fascinated as well. And if we can end now, I'm not going to keep you because it's late.
I wanted to mention about the locational astrology, just a couple of...
Okay, yes, of course. Yes, go on.
Yes. Yeah, I'm fascinated about the locational astrology, astrocartography, because since I was in school, when I was in school, I was passionate about geography. I always dreamed to travel. You see the sun in the 12th house, travel, right? And locational astrology is not just a location chart when you consider the degree of the moon in your birth chart and you relocate. I mean, you obtain at the end your just chart, on the like your birth chart, not in 3D, not like the projection of the planets on the Earth. Just a location chart, to see if your sun is in another house or not when you change the place of residence. But we talk about astrocartography. I use a special software that allows to see these vertical lines from one pole to another, of the planets that conjuncts the cardinal points, the ascendant, descendant. How do you call in English? I see the.
Yeah, basically, what the astrocartography is you see a map of the whole world, and it shows you what planets of your horoscope become very prominent in what areas of the Earth.
You find yourself
there will be on an angle, and when a planet is on an angle, it manifests very powerfully.
Yeah.
So say I can have a great Venus in my horoscope, but if it's in the 12th house, it can act. So I move to a place where my Venus is on an angle, and then this great Venus can give me good results there.
Yeah, so if you see these lines, the vertical line that goes from one pole to another on the globe, if you could talk about the globe, the Earth. So if we see the line, let's say Venus, Saturn on the descendant, if you live in a place that is crossed by this line, even if you have a strong Venus not afflicted and a nice 7th house, you will not understand why you cannot encounter the partner, why you will not meet somebody nice and who will make you happy. Because you live on the line, Saturn on the house. So the goal here is to find, and if it's possible, to move away, because there are different techniques and how to soften this negative environment if you're going to move away straight away just now. So it's ideal is to live in a place or a region where you don't have this line at all. I mean, it's better to live in a line, for example, Jupiter on this and then on the descendant. But there are some techniques. I mean, I can make another video later about this astrocartography.
We should do that.
Yeah. So this is about where to live, but there is another subcategory of astrocartography which is called cyclocartography. These are like transits in motion, transits, but in motion in 3D. So you can see the lines of transit that move. So you can calculate the time when you can where and when you should travel.
Okay. Give us some examples.
You have to combine this with the other predictive method. You have to check if you have corresponding progressions, in your normal prediction.
Like you have love indications in your birth chart.
You have nice directions, like Jupiter joins the descendant in directions. You have at the same moment somewhere nice progression, like the moon with Venus in conjunction in the progressions. In addition to that, you have, let's say, the sun that enters your 7th house or whatever, something nice. And in during you define this period of time when you have the concentration, the overlapping, or all these
overlapping of many
similar nature, right? And at the same time, you look for in cyclocartography, the transits in motion. What region, in what country, where it crosses this area, this region or the place or the country, and when
So you go and chase your lover and you find him at the end of the world.
Astrocartography can allow you to avoid a tragic situation, you know, even like, for example, those who died in the, during a tsunami, of course, they had clearly bad indications in astrocartography that they will have a danger in this, at this moment, in this region.
With those cycles, you can see when
and where.
Oh, wow. Okay, I only know the map of astrocartography. You have to maybe organize a course soon to teach us how to predict those.
The very last thing, when I discovered this, it's really recent, you know, the astrocartography for the predictions. If you consider the projection of the nodes on the globe, not only the planets, but the nodes, you know, it also, the nodes, the lines of the nodes, they also cross countries and regions.
Yes.
So this partner, the partner that I mentioned before, my karmic partner when I was younger, he was born in the place where is my southern node. Of course.
Wow. So it shows your past life connection is there.
Yeah, even
it's from there.
From this point of view, astrocartography. When I saw this, I was like.
Now, I've seen this, that I've been in love with people who are from countries where my Venus passes. I've seen my Venus from 2 places in the world. And my brother married someone, his Venus passes through Norway. He married a Norwegian woman. Even if they didn't meet in Norway, she was from there. So it does show so powerfully.
So the goal is here to combine all these parameters, all these indications, and in this case, like, we can improve our lives and, you know, to reduce, like,
wait, well,
make happiness easy, you know.
Yeah.
I know. I wanted to say as a conclusion that if the person sees that, thanks to the astrology, to his expertise and analysis, that the 7th house is weak, not afflicted, and Venus is, it doesn't mean that the person will not meet love. It means that she will have to learn lessons and she will have to learn, work on herself, you know. And if the person is not inert, you know, if the person doesn't depend on her, on the reaction that she used to have, you know, like type of the way she treats other people, the way she behaves. If she works on herself, you cannot even read the chart, because the person is independent from her chart. If she works on herself, these negative aspects, she can overcome them.
Maybe it will take longer, a bit later in age.
It takes longer. It takes long. Yes, it takes long.
That's what I want us to finish on such a positive note, so people know
always positive.
Have a bad Venus and a bad 7th house. Like, if they make the efforts, it might be delayed. It might come later in life. You might have quite a few heartbreaks first, but you can still get there. And
everything is possible. But if you have very harmonious horoscope, like trions and planets not afflicted,
you don't go to an astrologer then.
You don't have an easy life. You don't have an easy life. You don't have problems, and nothing pushes you, you know, working on yourself, and you don't grow as the person who has very complicated chart is growing on, is working on herself.
Oh yeah.
People who have succeeded in their life, they achieved the, you know, the top in the career and in love, they have very complicated charts, because they're full of contradictions, full of inner conflicts with others, and these circumstances, the negative conflicts and losses and delays and obstacles make these people work on themselves, so they can go very far.
And it's so much more interesting.
It's very stimulating, you know. It's very stimulating. Yeah, and the most interesting is to be able to see that, analyze it through the help of astrology, thanks to the astrology, which is the most powerful esoteric tool.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Olga. So much information. I mean,
I was excited by the end. I was so nervous at the beginning.
I'm sure people would want to see more of you, and we should do more such videos, because you explain so well and so easy. And maybe we can do some astrology courses later on, like webinars with people, you know.
I'm open to that, because I've been like waiting and asking the universe for some challenges, you know, to send me. And today is like, in 3 hours, I have the eclipse in my place, because it's 2:30.
Oh, in a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, she's 4 hours. Yeah, I have the eclipse here in Costa Rica, so it's very the energy. Is it's
Let's
very.
manifest. Let's manifest.
And thank you for once again for giving me the chance to talk to you and to be with you, to the part of your team. And I hope to be able in the future to, bring a lot of
Oh, you will. You're such an encyclopedia.
light, to people and to share my
Oh
knowledge.
yeah, honestly, I've learned so much from you today, and people I'm sure have learned. And guys, if you want to have a reading with Olga, I'll put links to her profile. You can contact her, and she would answer you with an email and schedule. Olga also does Skype readings. And if you don't know your time of birth well, you're better off having a tarot card reading with her, or first a rectification or a general astrology reading, which you do. If you don't have time for rectification, if you want a quick consultation, you better go for the services Olga offers, which are general basic tarot astrology reading. So she does not require rectification for you. So she'll use Lenormand cards and tarot and astrology. But if you want specific predictions with some of the techniques that Olga mentioned, you need to get rectification first. Or if it's about a relationship, again, if you have the general time of birth, it's okay. Olga
Yeah.
can proceed with that. So this is how she works, basically.
So I'm so happy.
Thank you so much, Olga. I can't wait for us to make a video on astrocartography or to make a video on karma, because so much maybe on Black Moon, Lilith, or Selena more in depth. People would find it fascinating. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful eclipse, guys. I don't know, that's a bit of a contradiction, but wonderful eclipse. But thank you, Olga, and I will see you guys soon with another update.